Today we are going to be looking at the first of Dotzauer's 113 etudes for cello. This is on IMSLP, and you should have received a link for it in your email if you're not already working on these etudes. And we're going to start really at the very beginning, which is on the first one, because it saves us some of the extensions that we're going to see later on. I know it looks extremely long, but it is in C major, and it modulates a couple of times. So we're going to be able to break this down into a couple of practicable parts. The first section we're going to look at is just the first 4 lines of the etude. So starting at the very beginning, it's mostly scalar, and the rhythms are nothing we haven't seen. It's a lot of quarter notes. So don't be scared by some of the unfamiliar notes, and let's see what we can do with this. 1, 2, ready, go. We'll stop there for the moment. So, overall, a lot of scales, just like I said, but you'll notice that starting in the 3rd line, we start to get a bunch of F sharps. Now, those are called accidentals because they don't belong to the key signature. The key signature is C major. It says no sharps, no flats. All of our notes are just regular natural notes, which means 2nd finger on the D string and A string. And now we've got this 3rd finger F sharp. So, an accidental is simply a note that doesn't belong in the key signature. It exists for the rest of the measure, but then in the measure after that, it starts fresh with the key signature. So what that means is, for example, in the 3rd measure of the 3rd line where we have that F sharp, if there were to be another F within that measure, it would also be F sharp, because the sharp sign covers the entire measure. However, in the following measure, if the following measure were to have an F, it would not be sharp, because we're referring back to our key signature, which is C major. So, what does it mean to have all of these F sharps? We've actually modulated into G major, because as we know, in G major, we still have C natural, but we have a single sharp, which is F sharp. So, modulating is when you begin to play in a different key within the same key signature. So the key signature doesn't change. It's not a key change within the piece, but you start introducing themes and melodies in a slightly different mood. Because it's a different key. So C and G are a 5th apart. That's a very normal interval to modulate with or between. So going from C major to G major is really quite natural. All we had to do was introduce that F sharp and then keep it while we play a couple of G major scales. So don't let that scare you. That's just our first modulation. Then in the very end of this section, the last couple measures of the 4th line, you see that we have this 4 and the 2 above the C string F sharp, and then C string E. So that's an extension. It's going to be a 4th finger extension, which means that if you're looking at your tapes, your 2nd finger goes to the tape where your 3rd finger normally is, your 3rd finger goes on the tape where your 4th finger normally is, and your 4th finger is above the tapes. So just to give a little bit of focus onto that measure, I'm playing the last 2 measures of the 4th line. We have 4 etude, so there's quite a bit of space between your first and second fingers. Check that a few times, make sure that it's in tune, that it sounds all right. You can even check this F sharp with your D string third finger F sharp to make sure that you're playing the right note. Let's go ahead and move on to the next section after that. So we've just played a whole bunch of scales in C major and in G major, and now we've got a lot of long notes. We're actually modulating again into D major. So as you look ahead into the fifth line, you can see a C sharp on the G string, which is going to be another fourth finger extension. And when you know you have F sharp and C sharp, you're in D major. So we're now going to play a little lick in D major. Starting on the fifth line, we go 1, 2, ready, go. Stop there, the piano whole bow at the end of that wild section. So we've only played 2 lines here. As you can see, our D major was short-lived because that C sharp and the F sharp quickly disappeared and became C natural and F natural again, bringing us back to C major. And now we've got quite a windy part where we're doing a lot of string crossings. We've got the trick to this is being able to place your fingers on more than one string in advance. So, for example, even in the very start, I placed my fourth finger on the G string, and my second finger is already getting ready to move to the A string. My second finger is on the D string, but my third finger is already hovering over the G string. And my first finger's on the A string. So your fingers are kind of spanning all 4 strings and being able to place more than one note in advance at a time so that you're always ready for the next note. That means you're using tunnel fingers, and it means you're really going to have to practice this section to be able to prepare those notes in advance. This is going to be one that you're going to work a lot on. So as we're going through this sort of noodly section with string crossings and tunnel fingers, we see the word dim, which means diminuendo. It means we're getting a little bit quieter. It's like a decrescendo. And in that measure, there's a B flat, a second finger on the G string. Yes, we are, in fact, introducing a little bit of D minor here. So if you recall, D minor only has 1 flat. It's B flat. So we've gone from having C major, everything's natural, and now we have 1 flat, which is our B flat. So all of those are second fingers on the G string, so make sure you watch out for that. That's where we're going to stop for right now. Practice those 2 sections separately. Be very, very attentive to those accidentals because there are quite a few of them. There's F sharps where there shouldn't be F sharps. There's extensions with F sharp and C sharp that we need to practice, and then you've got that B flat at the end. So in the next video, we're going to finish out this etude and see how it looks as a whole.